I feel bad for bugs, man. Even ones who are violent. I don't know what type of bug this is, but it's very red. It looks waspish. But it's clearly struggling with the residue of onions I've chopped up today. Because I'm frying some onions. I'm going to have some squash and some tofu. Not that tofu is particularly great. For us. But, that's what I'm having, but I feel bad. I don't know. Bug fell. Don't see him. I was just listening to, I listened to Kennedy read the Declaration of Independence, and then there was some other no-name reader of the Declaration of Independence that came up next in my playlist I listened to, and then some no-name reader of the Constitution. And this is what I have to say about Jefferson. Because there's a lot of scuttlebutt. Not even scuttlebutt lately, a lot of direct criticism, which is good and justified in one sense. But when we read the words that he wrote, when we see the penmanship that he used, when we look at Monticello and we look at his other properties, and I will, in further discussions, get into the encoding, including his obelisk clock that he kept at the foot of his bed. A two-tower, black obelisk clock suspending the clock, which he's, I wouldn't even say infamous for, but famous for, his adherence to time. And efficiency. Introducing, multi-wheeled wheelbarrows to increase efficiency. And so on. Now, first of all, what's the symbolism if we just consider alone the dual black obelisk clock? I'll leave that for another time. You don't need to be very symbolic to see, and that was the clock that he kept at the foot of his bed. So we can picture him standing upon that monument. What's the symbolism of that? How far underground is the Underground Railroad, and how far back in time does it go? When we consider the half-black woman he was with after his wife died, They said she was 16, and this is where I really need the help of my I don't know what to say. I don't know how to say it, but like the people who are into the African quote unquote conspiracy theories or African alternative histories of the Kemet, please, if you're into the Kemet quote unquote conspiracy theories, and it depends greatly what we mean by conspiracy. Con, with, co, n, number, co, to, co, beside, co, number, beside, number, conspiracy, spiral. If you're into Kemeticism, if you're into the Ethiopian Christos, please be with me in this, that the possibility exists that there would be one conceived to be 16 years of age who was a Kemetan Egyptian, Ethiopian, who only appeared to be 16 because of the science, the chemistry of Kemet. How old could that girl be? Why did Jefferson sleep with black obelisks at his feet? Never mind that other plantation he had, where there was a foot clock. There was a foot discovered, which was presumed to hold a clock at his other plantation to keep track of time, that was shaped like a wild carrot, which originated in Turkey. I'll get to all of that eventually, but I don't give a fuck about color. I don't give a fuck about all that, but it's big in the news today, and we need to understand that the Underground Railroad reaches back not just 100 years, and not just 200 or 300 years, but thousands of years. And I'm not just saying I know, but I have to prove it. But I need your help. In some sense, like we need white dudes to say this shit, so I'm one white dude saying this shit. But we need people of every color saying this shit. And I know there are people of darker pigments calling for this type of help. Well, I'm answering that call. And I am responding. It's like an echo upon an echo, but it's not just an echo chamber. It's these smaller parabolic shapes that echo upon these larger parabolic shapes. So I'm also calling upon the help of others with more knowledge about some of this other stuff, as I only just begin to learn about it now, but I can only act upon and react upon where I am, and this is where I am. But if we listen to the words of the Declaration of Independence, think about it. You know, this ain't some podunk, backwoods, hating motherfucker. Could someone who wrote those words with that pen really have owned slaves? Think about organized crime. What are the two types of organized crime we know about? Mostly. The Italians and the Sicilians of the mafia. That's what we think about when we think about organized crime. What's another type of organized crime? Harriet motherfucking Tubman, man. Why? Because some crimes are crimes against the prevailing, I wouldn't even say law, but the prevailing exposition of law, the prevailing dominance, right? Harriet Tubman was a criminal. And what did she engage in? She engaged in organized crime. Crime against an unjust society. We know the Italians, quote unquote, and this is no disrespect to Italians, but that's what we associate organized crime with. Right? Scarface. The Godfather, which still esteems all this respect. But we associate cooking the books with the bad type of organized crime. Do you think that maybe some of the Harriet Tubman types cooked the books? So when we see that Jefferson was making all these things, he had his 600 slaves, he kept close accounts, never mind how intelligent he was, all of the machines that he was into, the mathematics. Do you think maybe he could have been cooking the books? Do you think that maybe his Naga priestess, Assyrian, Kemet, Egyptian, Ethiopian, bride? Never mind the way she count. Might have had something to do with that. Do we think he really owned 600 slaves? So this is my proposition. It's not even a proposition. It's the fucking truth. But I hope I don't get killed for saying this, but I'm gonna say it anyway. How old do you think those 600 slaves were? Do you think Cleopatra was among them? Or she weren't even around in the time of before. Cleopatra's new. But you get what I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. The revolution will not be televised. The truth will be not written here alone. The truth is stranger than fiction. Mm-hmm. We have to believe in magic. It's nice when it's on a song, right? On a pop song. We can dance to it. And then we believe it. We feel it. But what about the rest of the time? Do we feel it then? Do I? Not always. Alright, my onions are just about burning, so I gotta get to going, but what would you do? If you lived back then, what would you do? What would Jefferson have done if he believed the way you believe, or if he believed the way I believe and just said no in his heart of hearts? What would you do? I'll tell you what I'd do. I'd keep looking. I'd keep seeking shit out, because as bad as shit was then, I still feel that way now about how bad shit is. And so what have I done? Been looking. And I found something. And it's meant to be hidden, but it's meant to be hidden to be found by those who seek. And I've sought and I've found. But now is a time to reveal, is a time to say, is a time to get it out there. There's so many different conspiracies, which are stories, which are with spirals. Braided spirals. That's what conspiracies are. And all of the conspiracies braid together to the one spiracy, to not the with spiracy, but the unispiracy. The unicorn. We're meant to get there. We're meant to find it. And for those who are strong enough to sustain, for those who are strong enough to survive the story, because the story is crushing when the world we thought we knew is crushed. It's hard. And I'm still in the process of getting my ass kicked by it. And there's it's just as likely to be very, very, very bad for me. But anyway, it's important to at least contemplate. That maybe people had to do things that looked ugly because there was no other choice, and that they left clues. And it's our job to decode those clues, because they did risk their lives, knowing that hundreds of years later, thousands of years later, we might come upon the clues they left for us. And they trusted that there would be people like us who are willing to look at things from different perspectives and to read between the lines. Mm-hmm. That's it for now. I'll get to more later, but hope you're having a good day.